This is the first tutorial in the bakery sweets theme. We're getting a late start on it, but this is the first one. It's my cookies and cream inspired cake. Since I just did the cookies and cream ice cream, I wanted to show you guys the cake too. So it is the very first in our bakery sweet set. Now first we're going to start with the wafer. The wafer is Burnt Umber Primo and White Primo. I rolled them out in flat sheets. How thick doesn't really matter, as long as they're all even thicknesses or about that. And I'm just putting together 3 layers. So we have the chocolate and the white, one of them. And then I turn the white face down, smooth it on to the chocolate again, and then we're going to cut straight down. So this is 3 layers. You have a layer of chocolate, a layer of the white icing, and then another layer of chocolate. So that's the beginning of the wafer. What we do now is we roll it flatter with a textured tool. This tool I got as a part of a clay tool set at Michael's. It's in the polymer clay section, so I'm sure other craft stores have it as well. And I roll it pretty thin. You can keep it thicker if you want larger wafers. And then what I'm going to do is just cut tiny rectangles and bake them. So we're baking the tiny rectangles, and after we bake them, they'll be nice and hard so we could place them on our cake. So that is the wafer. Now we're going to get to the cake itself. I'm going to show you some of the clay. This is Burnt Umber and Primo. It's about 1/4 Burnt Umber to 3/4 Translucent Primo. And then this other color that looks white is about 1/4 White Primo to 3/4 Translucent Primo. So what I did is I rolled out a sheet and I took cookie cutter 1-inch round and cut out 4 of the chocolate cake, 2 of the vanilla cake, and then this round piece is actually just plain burnt umber, and I rolled out some burnt umber flat. So what I do is I take and I double layer the cakes. This is on the second thickest setting of my pasta roller. The first setting is too small, but the second is more than half of the first, and I really like the height of these two put together for the 1-inch slice cakes. It just depends on how many layers you have. So here we are. Let you see that better. So this is the second thickest setting on the pasta roller, doubled for each layer of cake, and the burnt umber strip is a third thickest setting from the pasta roller. So I double each cake. So here is the chocolate cake doubled. I place it onto burnt umber. I place a burnt umber on top of that. And you're going to want to try to center them over so they don't overlap too much. Then I'm putting 2 layers of the vanilla onto the chocolate. Adding 1 more layer. There we go. Then I have 1 more layer here. So it's 2 layers, 1 layer, 2 layers, 1 layer, 2 layers, 1 layer. Then I add my top icing color, which is the burnt umber again. So there we are. So it's cake, icing, cake, icing, cake. Actually, I don't know why I cut 6 out. I only need 4 of the burnt umber. So here is some burnt umber rolled out, flat. This is that third thickest setting. I'm laying my cake at the very edge, and then I push straight down and remove the rest of the clay, and I cut a straight edge, so you have 3 straight edges against the edges of the clay, and then I roll it all around my cake. And I smooth. And for those of you who have seen me do the cakes before, I'm going to smooth the edges like I did the rainbow cake, and from there I'm going to add the clear glitter like you've seen me do. So you could always fast forward past all of this if you want. But I am smoothing the edges of the cake for those of you who haven't seen layered cakes get put together before. I like to do my icing. So I smooth the sides here. And it doesn't have to be completely 100% smooth, but you want it pretty smooth. So I'm just smoothing around on the edges, trying to decrease the appearance of that ridge. I like doing this real time, so those of you who are beginning, you can actually see how long it takes realistically. So I'm shaping it by putting a thumb and some fingers on the top and bottom, and I roll it with my opposite hand, and then I even roll it on a paper to try to get it as round as possible on the sides, and then I press flat down on the top. So there we go. So this is our actual cake that's covered in its icing. Now this one I do my glitter as well. The glitter, I actually brought the bottle this time so you can see it. This is what it looks like. It's a Martha Stewart, and it says Glitter Crystal Fine, and it's completely clear. I usually just dump it in a box. And I'm going to take TLS and I rub it on my fingers to get it nice and tacky and get all the globs away, and I toss the cake in my fingers, getting it all nice and all over. You just want it tacky so it doesn't create huge globs on the cake where it will collect more glitter and change the look of the glitter across the cake. So you just want it nice and sticky and evenly coated without globs. And then I put it in my glitter, toss it around a little bit, flip it over. I really like the glitter on the cookies and cream cake. I like the effect that it gives it. And you can see the glitter on different colors this way. I'll show you the finished cake again when we're done here. Now from here it usually rests at least an hour, but realistically I like to make a lot of cakes at one time, so I will put together several cakes. I let them sit overnight. Then I cut them into 6 slices. I texture them and decorate the top. So this will smash just a little bit because I'm doing it right now in front of you. But I go straight down the middle, it's halfway, and I push straight down. And you want to make sure that you're doing it with the right side of the blade. I know it sounds silly, but if you put it in the back side of the blade, and sometimes it's hard to tell, it will smash the clay colors into the layers below. So I basically cut them in half and then cut them in thirds. So there we go. We have 3 slices out of that half a cake. This is what it looks like before being textured. There we go. And I will let this rest a little bit. Sometimes it just pushes it down. And also, when you texture it, you want it to be a little bit more solid. I already textured this one, but so we'll use that for our next step. So this might get a tiny bit smashed because I just cut it right now, but I want to show you the texturing. So I go with a safety pin. You could always use a sewing pin as well, just a really tiny, tiny fine tipped point. And I go in tiny circles. So we go along, along, along. And you'll notice if you're doing it right, you start teasing some out with your safety pin. So I don't know if you could see it here, but there's a little bit clay on my safety pin. And if you see that there's like in this case, there's a tiny bit of a separation, I will actually take the opportunity to, when I'm texturing it, push some of the clay into that and help fix it. If it's where the icing meets, I pull the icing back and push the clay wall forward. So if that happens, it's not a lost cause. You can just cover that area. It's good that that happened, so that way you guys can see how I fix that in case it happens to you. So we just continue to go in circles to texture. I've shown you enough texturing for you to get the idea. And this is one that I just textured before. There's no need to cook it yet. You can if you want, but you don't have to. So I texture both sides, and just the cake. I leave the icing layer flat. And then from here, what you want to do is make some frosting. The way that you make frosting is you take the color of the frosting you want in solid clay, and you condition it, and you put it into some TLS. If you let it sit for a while, it becomes softer in the TLS, and it will, you won't have to pound it and mix it quite so much before it's all integrated. But you just mix it and you pound it. I usually do so much that I do it in a shot glass, and then I just save it for later. Lint does get in it, but it's pretty thick, so I'm going to show you what I have here. And I have this, has been sitting out for probably about 3 weeks, and it had a lot of lint in it, but as you can see after stirring it up, because of how thick it is with the white in it, you don't even see any lint. So this is the consistency it should be after it's all stirred. If it's thinner and it doesn't stay stringy like this, then you add more clay. If it's too thick, then you add a little bit more TLS. So from here, I'm going to take a toothpick and grab a little bit of our icing here. And then I'm going to paint the icing on the back. And then I usually put a little bit of a drizzle on the back. I was watching what I was doing instead of looking through the camera, so I hope you guys saw that, but I just tapped on a little bit of the frosting. But I like a little bit of the drizzle coming down the back on the cookies and cream. I think that it's pretty. And from here, you have 2 options. These are glass microbeads. These are, they don't actually have holes in them, and they're super, super tiny. This is also the Martha Stewart brand. I still get these at Michael's. They don't carry Actually, I used to get them from Michael's. They last a very long time, but they started carrying the Recollections instead of the Martha Stewart. So what I do is I pick up a couple with my fingers and I just drip them onto the icing. I think that is more than good enough. But if you don't have that, what you can do is you can use a safety pin like you're texturing cake, and you know how I said you remove some of those bits and pieces? You could always put those on the frosting instead of the micro balls, and that's the micro beads, and it will give you the look that we did on the cookies and cream. But you don't have to pound them in because it's liquid clay and it will hold on to them. Now from here, we just stick on our little finished wafers. And for some reason, even though I had them right here, they ran away. So I'm going to grab the one that we didn't cook in the beginning. I prefer these cooked because they're nice and flat and they're already hardened, so you know that they're not going to get smashed. But for the moment I don't have a choice. So I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to place it